So let's have a conversation about the 5 masks of masculinity. You see, approximately 20 years ago, I went to a seminar and a psychologist was having this conversation about these 5 masks. And as I listened to the presentation, something in me clicked and I immediately recognized some of the masks that I had been wearing. And during this process of my own personal growth and transformation, I learned how to remove those masks and how to become authentic with who I am as a man. And I got to tell you, the lessons have been invaluable for me. And they have allowed me to be authentically happy with who I am as a human being. And so as I share these 5 masks, I want you to think about which one really resonates with you. Because as I share them, you may say, I wear that one, or I made that one, or I wear all of them. But the key here is to recognize which one resonates with you the most. Because as you're listening and you hear that one, something in you will sort of become aware. And it opens the door for you to now begin taking that mask off. Because the key to growth and transformation is awareness. And a lot of times we simply aren't aware that we are wearing these masks. I know for most of my adult life, I was completely oblivious to these masks until I started doing this work. So notice that as I share these masks, just listen to and check within yourself to see how you feel when the one that comes up really resonates with you. So let's begin. The first mask is what's called the Mr. Nice Guy mask. And the Mr. Nice Guy mask is the mask that I wore for many years. And when the guy was sharing this in the presentation, I immediately knew that that was the mask that I needed to take off. Because most of my life, I had an insatiable need for other people's approval. I was always putting other people's needs ahead of my own. I didn't know how to set healthy boundaries for myself. And I really struggled with trying to be a nice guy. And so that mask, again, had dominated my life for a very long time. But fortunately, I took the time to discover that I was wearing the mask, and I went through a process of taking that mask off. And as mentioned, I feel happy, healthy, and whole right now, and I no longer wear that mask. So that's mask number 1. Mask number 2 is Mr. Tough as Nails. And Mr. Tough as Nails is the guy who doesn't show emotions, with the exception of maybe anger, and they aren't comfortable smiling. They wear this protective mask by being hard and detached, and they don't allow people to get close to them. They don't express how they truly feel because they wear this mask called Mr. Tough Guy. And that's the only way they know how to interact with other people, by being tough, by being rigid. And so my suggestion is, if you resonate with that mask, then it's important that you take the time to go within and soften your heart a little and be willing to take that mask off. Because when you do, you'll find some gold inside or behind that mask that, despite the mask you may be wearing, each of us as human beings, we have this gold within us that when we remove our mask, that gold is always there. So that's the second mask, is the mask of Mr. Tough as Nails. The next mask is Mr. Moneybags. Mr. Moneybags is the guy who hides behind his material possessions. He's the guy that always likes to brag on the new stuff that he's got. Maybe the latest technology, or maybe the nicest car, or maybe the big screen television. Either way, he's hiding behind his stuff. He's hiding behind the material possessions because he's afraid of really opening his heart and being vulnerable with people. And so that's a mask that unfortunately a lot of men wear, is the Mr. Moneybags mask. So make sure if you're wearing that mask, take it off and recognize that you don't need anything to be loved except yourself. And the mask number 4 is the Mr. Gigolo Mask. And this is the man who wants to use sexual conquest as a way of feeling good about himself. And so he may be an extremely skilled lover, and he may brag about all the women that he slept with. But deep down inside is a deep feeling of inadequacy. And the way he tries to feel that feeling of inadequacy is through sexual conquest. And I can assure you that without the emotional and spiritual connection, then that person will always feel empty no matter how much sex he has. So be sure that if you're wearing this mask of Mr. Gigolo, that you take it off and understand that there's a huge distinction to be made between having sex and making love. And when you can open your heart and connect with another human being, then you can make love and not just have physical sex. And so last but definitely not least, the fifth mask that a lot of men wear is what I call the mask of Mr. Stuck in his head. The mask of Mr. Stuck in his head. That's the illusion. That's the mask that they wear. Always processing everything from the neck up. Don't know how to connect to his emotions. Feels very little, thinks a whole lot. So if you truly want to connect with others, you got to get out of your head and get into your heart. And it's been said that the longest journey a man will ever make is the 18 inches from his head to his heart. And so this guy, you got to take that mask off and be real, be authentic with yourself. And when you do, you'll be able to connect with others. So there you have them, the 5 masks of masculinity. Make sure you're not wearing one of them. Make sure that you take off the mask, show your true authentic self, and you will be happier, healthier, and more fulfilled if you choose to do so. Good luck.